All right, welcome to the week four forum. This week we're looking at state and local government. We want you to be able to explain the role that state and local government plays within the federal system, within the U.S. federal system. We're not the only country that practices federalism, but we do kind of have some quirks to how we do it. We want you to be able to describe the main components of state and local governments. We want you to be able to praise different approaches to resolving the friction between federal, state, and local governments that lead to impositional politics, to unfunded mandates and preemptions. We want you to be able to analyze the challenges confronting state and local governments in funding their operations, and we want you to be able to evaluate state and local government's role in the election, in the electoral and policy formulation process. So this this supplement begins with a story about Dr. Tamara Mix, who was an environmental sociologist at OSU. She got married, had kids, moved into a neighborhood, and then a fracking operation sprung up. She was worried about it because, being an environmental sociologist, she understood the health challenges that that kind of operation can create. And the city of Stillwater wanted to basically ban fracking within the city limits. Now, this is an example of a local government basically responding to a powerful constituency. And at the local level, homeowners generally exert real influence over, city politicians and county politicians. The problem, of course, is that fracking is a major activity, major economic activity of the oil and gas industry. And the oil and gas industry exerts tremendous influence within the Oklahoma State Legislature, and they very quickly persuaded the legislature to pass laws basically banning city governments from from fracking, from itself banning fracking. And so this kind of highlights a couple of things that's really important. First and foremost, local and state government do a lot of governing. There's a lot of important stuff that is happening at the state level. And number two, states have tremendous influence over what local governments can and cannot do. And an example of that, you can look at just recently when the legislature basically, passed a ban on schools insisting on masks. And again, the problem here is that the state legislature is saying this should be the parents' decision, and a lot of school administrators are saying no, this is a public health problem. If people don't want to wear masks, that's one thing. They don't have to come to school. But if you're going to have lots and lots of people packed into school, they either need to be vaccinated, or they need to be masked, or they need to be tested. And right now, we can't, as public school officials, we're not really even supposed to even ask about those kinds of things. So I think it highlights just how important it is that state governments, are acting, and they're acting in sometimes in tension. I don't think that the people in the Oklahoma State Legislature, in Florida, in Ron DeSantis, I don't think that they're bad people per se. I do think that they're responding to, economic calculations more than they are to public health, concerns. And so, again, this is an important aspect again of what's happening at the state and local level. There are a lot of differences across the 50 states, of course. Alaska is the biggest state. It spans over 665,000 square miles. The smallest state, Rhode Island, barely traverses 1,500 square miles. California has a population of nearly 40 million, while Wyoming has a population of just over 582,000. So, there's really lots and lots of differences. And, as we learned last week, differences are sort of built into federalism. The whole concept of federalism is designed to preserve different approaches to governance, okay? And so if you want to live in a rural state, you can move to a rural state. If you want to live in a big city, you can move to a big city, and you can take the trade-offs that come with either living in a rural environment or living in a big, in a big city like New York. And so, these are important questions, and state and local governments are important actors. And so as you work through this material, and I know it's a long chapter, so make sure you give yourself the time to read it and study it a little bit. As you work through the material, just think about all the things that happen at the state and local level, and how hard it is to be coordinated, right? I think I mentioned in the overview, last week we were kind of looking at a top down, here's how the federal government, reacts to the states. This is sort of a bottom up perspective. And again, a lot of times, the larger units, the larger governing units have a tendency to simply say, you know what, we're going to change, you're going to change how you're doing things at the local level. And if you don't like it, too bad. And that's not good for politics. We need a more collaborative approach to governance. And the problem is we're so polarized, we don't simply think the other side is mistaken, and we're not prepared to compromise with them. And so that really is making governing very difficult. So again, let's have a great discussion this week, and let's have fun with this.